Are you obsessed with keeping your digital notes clean and tidy? You might actually be making a bit of a mistake, because all these notes and ideas that you've collected over the years, they're little nuggets of gold that at this moment in time might not mean very much to you, but in 3 or 4 or 5 or even 10 years time, when you go back through those notes, that might be the connection that is the start of something very special. This is one of the things that I stumbled across whilst reading about Leonardo da Vinci and Copernicus and Isaac Newton. Back in their days, paper was very expensive. They couldn't afford to waste it and make a mistake and then tear it up and throw it away. They had to make use of every square millimetre on the page. This meant that they kept all their notebooks, all their random ideas, and they were scattered throughout many different notebooks. But it was this that enabled them in a few years later, after they'd written the notes, to make connections that they couldn't see in that moment. This is why you do not want to be deleting your notes that you have collected. Right now, they may mean nothing to you. You might not be able to see anything important in them, but you don't want to be throwing them away. And I've come up with a system that in my notes app, I can keep all these random notes hidden away from view, ready for me to pick up at a moment's time just by using my phone and scanning through these little notebooks. I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. Okay, so as you can see here in my Evernote, and remember, it doesn't matter what notes application you're using, you can build this same structure and the same idea in pretty much the same way. So here I am in my Evernote using the notebook view. So I have my notebooks organized in Evernote via stacks. So if you look here, this little emblem here means this is a stack. Up here, this little emblem means it's a notebook, and that's my inbox for collecting stuff. So if I go into my inbox right now, I have my YouTube video, the one that we're doing right now, and we also have down here a blog post that I collected yesterday, which I thought was fantastic, still needs to be processed. And I have details of a podcast I will be appearing on in the near future. Now, that's just my inbox. I don't really need to worry about that. Nothing urgent will ever go in my inbox. Now, I just want to briefly cover these down here. So goals, naturally, this is where I like to put my goals. Now, for those of you who don't know, I operate a system called GAPRA, which is my version of Tiago Forte's PARA. I like to see my goals and areas of focus at the top, then my projects, resources, and archive. You'll notice down here that I have an additional stack called current online courses. Now this is a lot of what my work is creating and updating courses. So I like to keep that one separate and keep all individual course notes in one notebook or stack of notebooks. Then up here I've got my projects, and I can show you that. These are the projects that I'm currently working on. I'm doing my Collect, Organize and Do course update, which means it's no longer in this stack. It's pulled out and moved into my projects because it's current. I've got my workshop that's coming up on the 14th and the 21st of April. And if you haven't signed up for that yet, you can join still. There are places available, details of which will be in the show notes. And then I've got the book that I'm writing at the moment, which is very close to finishing, and all the details related to that project is there. Now you'll notice that I've got a notebook here called Projects, and really that only holds one note, which is basically my master project list. So I have the 3 projects you saw there, plus something that I'm always struggling with, which always is in there, and that's to get my fitness levels up high, but okay, that's an ongoing. As you can see, it's in progress. And as you can see down here, these are the deadlines for these courses. This one's coming up. This one is pretty much all sorted out. I'm currently in the marketing stage. And I've got the links to the individual project notes right here. So I can just go into my COD course update and it will give me, this particular one will give me the checklist that I need to do once I've finished recording. So I can go back to the master project list right there. So essentially that is how the main structure is. Now the bits that I really want to focus on in this, and this comes about from a bit of research that I've been looking at from about archiving and the profession of archiving. Now, essentially, there are two things you need to know when it comes to archiving your notes. You need to have what's called provenance. Now, that means, in your case, it's going to mean you as an individual. In most cases, provenance means either the person or the institution, the organization. That's the provenance. Where's it coming from? Well, in your case, in your digital notes, that's coming from you. So the provenance is sorted out. The next thing is the original order. Now, the original order is an interesting one, and this is something that actually got me thinking. So when it comes down to your resources, these are going to be very, very personal to you because these are all the things that you are interested in, and it's long-term interest, not just passing interest. So most of you, if you followed me for any particular length of time, you know that I have an obsession with James Bond. And inside this particular notebook, I've got tons and tons and tons of stuff related to James Bond, the movies, the books, clothing, props, you name it, it's all in here. And it's just a resource of all the stuff that I am particularly interested in when it comes to James Bond. Effectively, I'm interested in everything. And if you go back to the notebooks, you'll see that in my particular gen, I've got 188 notes in there. Now, I have spent time trying to learn Korean, and that's in there. The last time I attempted looking here was the 28th of December, but it's an ongoing thing for me. But all these things are my own personal interests, and it's going to be different for you because you also will have your own personal interests. And these are the things that you want to keep out and just keep in there. Now, the big thing here is your archive. Now, your archive is not just a glorified trash can. I know many people tend to think, I don't know what to do with this note. Throw it into archive. And actually, that's quite good because if we go back to here, your projects area needs to be organized by topic because, individual projects, I don't need notes in here about something unrelated to the COD course. All I want is all the notes related to COD course grouped together and placed in one notebook because it's specific to a topic. But if you want to get the most out of your archive, then your archive needs to be random, because this is how your brain actually works. Now, there is a bit of a misnomer out there. People want to organize their notes by a logical sequence and they want it all nice and neat and tidy. Now, that's great if you want a computer to organize everything for you because computers operate on logic. They make logical connections, but those connections are logical and you would make them very quickly if you saw a list of that stuff. The trouble is your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain works on an illogical area because it's dealing with time or its perception of time. It's dealing with your own life's experiences and your knowledge that you've gained throughout your life. Now that isn't logical. Everyone's going to be different. We've had different life experiences and we have different levels of knowledge. So really, if you want to make those really interesting connections and to be creative, you want to create some kind of randomness. However, if you've got thousands of notes, you're never going to go through them. So there needs to be a way of where we can actually put them into their natural order of things. Now, again, I've gone back to how places like the UK National Archives have done this, the US National Archives, many of the countries' National Archives. I've even looked at how libraries and museums organize their stuff. What it turns out, for all that kind of stuff, they go by date. So what I've done in my archive is all the notes I've got in my current Evernote go back to 2015. It's just one note. And I was actually showing my wife this. Now, this is currently organized by by when I last looked at this note, or when I opened up this note. But you can go in here, and I think if it's in here, date created. So this one was created in October 2015. Now, I kind of pulled this out because I realized, wow, I had interest in Aston Martin almost 10 years ago. Actually, I've been interested in Aston Martin for a very long time. But going back to this, I've got my notes down here. Now, the thing is, round about 2017, I think at the end of 2017, I archived pretty much all my notes, or exported all my notes into an archive file, and I placed that on a hard drive. So I've actually got notes that will go back to 2009. But my life changed around about 2017. I no longer taught English. I started focusing on this business full time. And so what I have here is very few notes prior to 2018, but they're actually on a separate hard drive. But if you look down here, I've got loads and loads of notes that I've collected. Now, you will notice that I do keep, like here, if I've got tags. I am using tags. Another one here, I've been following Kurosh Dini for a very long time too. And I know I go back to like 2014-ish with Kurosh. So there's a lot of stuff here that I've just had so much fun putting together. But it is effortless, because if I go back to my inbox here, and we say this particular note here, it's a YouTube video. I don't really need to see it again after these notes. So I can just move that now to my archive for 2024. It's going to go in, and it's going in on this date. This one here is, I haven't tagged this particularly yet, but I can do, and I can just put creativity. I'm going to create a tag for that, because who knows, I might want to do that. And again, all I need to do is now move that into my 2024 archive. Now, in maybe 5 or 6 years' time, when I go through that archive, I say, oh yeah, I remember reading that post from Dave Trott on damaged creativity. So this is something that I really wanted to stress. Don't delete your notes. Now, there is a certain type of note that you may want to do. I often create a meeting note and then maybe collect nothing. Then sure, if you haven't written anything in a meeting note, by all means, just throw that one in to your trash can. There's no worries there. But the way I like to have this structured is my archive is really important, and I do like it to go back as long as it needs to go back. So I don't mind. I mean, the way that Evernote works, it doesn't matter how much stuff you've got in here, because you're limited by month, not by your total usage. Now, you'll notice also there's some stuff here that's outside of the archive. That's because these are notebooks, and I haven't done anything with those. They can stay down there. There's not too many of those. But the wonderful thing of this is I don't now need to worry about it. That randomness in my archive is there. It's still organized by provenance, because it's all related and connected to me. And the natural order for me, and just makes sense to have it organized by year that I collected this stuff, because my interests pass over and throughout the years. The other thing about this is, if you want to give yourself a little bit of an extra level of organization, then you can use tags. And tags are great, because I mean, when I look at my tags, they're probably all over the place. Yep, I've got tons of different tags. It really doesn't matter, but it does give me an extra level of stuff that I may want to collect at a search for in the future, because I'm thinking about how I would search. But there you go. That's what I really just wanted to cover. Goals, areas and focus, and projects, they actually want to be grouped together by related topic, because they're obviously related to a specific topic. But your resources, of course, this is more related to topic, but it's also about your personal interests. And then your archive is for everything else. And you really want to create that randomness so that your brain can use that power of illogic to make some very interesting connections later. Now, if you want to learn more about how I'm using those digital notes and bringing everything together, then you can watch this video next.